Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jessica and today we're going to talk about why I love the library. Obviously I love the library. My channel is named Jessica's Library Card for a reason, and April is National Library Month. I thought it would be the perfect time for us to chat about books and the library and the way that the library has shaped and changed my reading life and how it can help you change your reading life and maybe save a little bit of money along the way. I'm going to share how I use the library in my reading life and with my channel. I'm going to give you some tips for how you can use your library, and at the end, I'm going to share a little bit of a library store haul. So stick around to the end of the video if you're interested in seeing what I got. I have always used the library. When I was a little girl, I remember getting my first library card when I was about 7 years old, and every single week, my mother or my grandmother took me to the library and I checked out so many books. I was an avid reader, and I know that I used to check out, if I remember, I used to check out probably 15 books a week. I was one of those people who just did nothing but read in their spare time, and it has shaped me as a person. And that love for the library that I got from having the ability to go to this building that is just full of books that you can read that don't cost anything. I did not grow up in a privileged family that had a lot of resources that could buy me endless books. And so I use the library to read whatever I want, and it has really shaped who I am as a reader. As I've gotten older, I have continued to use my library as my primary source of books. I go to the library at least once a month. I will always go after I do my TBR video here. I will choose the books that I want to read, and then the ones that I don't own physically, I will go to the library, and if they have them, I will pick them up. If they don't have them, I will put a hold on them, have them sent to my library, and then I'll go pick them up later. Let's talk about the resources that I use in my reading life at the library. The number one resource that I probably use is Libby. Libby is an app that you can get on your phone, and it is a way that you can check out ebooks and audiobooks from your library for free. I am someone who likes to have a physical book, but I'm also someone who likes to read books digitally when I can. I love my Kobo, and I am always reading on that, especially at night in bed. I do not want to read a physical book when I am laying down. So if I can, if the library has it, I will always try to get the book in addition to my physical copy. I will get a copy from the library, and I'll switch back and forth between them. I also want to talk about audiobooks. If you love audiobooks, Libby is a fantastic resource for you. Audiobooks are expensive. Audible is expensive. I know that Spotify lets you get some amount of audiobooks, but sometimes not enough hours to even listen to one full audiobook. But Libby audiobooks are 100% free. I am somebody who's been kind of experimenting with immersive reading, which is where you listen to an audiobook at the same time you're reading the words. I struggle with audiobooks a little bit on their own because I do have ADHD and a little bit of auditory processing disorder. So trying to listen to something can be a struggle for me, but having the combination of the audiobook in my ear and the book in my eyeballs really works for me, especially for things that are a little bit more difficult for me to understand sometimes. So I have been really enjoying that. And it's something I wouldn't be able to do without my library, because I definitely would not be purchasing large amounts of audiobooks. As I mentioned, I do love my Kobo. I have a video on reviewing my Kobo, which I will link down below if you're interested in seeing that. But I get books on the Kobo primarily from my library. I own some books digitally, but for the most part, anything that's going on here is from the library. The Kobo has Overdrive integration. Overdrive is a part of Libby, and you can get the books from Libby directly onto your Kobo. They will sync to your library once you're signed in, and you can get the books on there and read them that way. If you live in the US, you can do the same basic thing using Libby and Kindle, but Kindle does not work outside the US. Amazon does not allow people to access their library books from Kindle unless you live in the US. So I would generally, well, in general, I would recommend the Kobo over Kindle, but definitely for that reason. I am considering doing an entire video that is just my tips and tricks for how I use Libby in reading. Let me know if that's something you would be interested in down in the comments below, because I'm happy to put that together for you all. But my number one tip for Libby is, first of all, that you can have multiple library cards in it. If you live in an area, as I do, where you have access to multiple libraries, put them all in there, and you can always choose which library you're checking your book out from. Whichever one has the shortest wait, that's the one you can use. But I would also recommend something I don't think a lot of people do, which is utilizing tags. So if I have a book I want to read that is not yet out, a lot of times it will be in the library on Libby, and you can see the entry for it, but you can't reserve it yet because it's not up there. But you'll see a little button that says notify me. And if you hit that little button, it will enable you to get an email or a notification on your phone or whatever you've chosen as soon as one of your libraries has that book available to place a hold on. And that's how I get most of my new releases. I tend to read new releases the month they come out. And the reason I can do that is because I have been on the hold list since they put it up, which for some libraries is super early. I mean, 6-9 months early. And for some libraries, they don't put them up until the week of or the day before or something like that. So it just depends on your library, but definitely utilize those hold tags. That will really help you out. And as I said, so much to go into with Libby. So I am going to plan to do a full video just on Libby, but let me know down in the comments again if that's something you'd be interested in. I would recommend checking with your library to see if there are any other regional libraries that they have a reciprocal agreement with. My library has a reciprocal agreement with all of the libraries in the area. I think it's 4 libraries that I can get cards to through that. And then I also work in one state and live in another. And a lot of times you can actually get library cards in the state or county that you work in addition to living there. It just depends on the rules and how property taxes work, or taxes, how they're funding the libraries, whether or not that's something you have access to. But working in Ohio and living in Kentucky, I have access to, I think 7 or 8 different libraries through that. So I'm able to utilize Libby to the fullest. And those are just, for the ones I don't live in the same area as, those are just digital cards. But I do have physical library cards at the 3 main libraries that are in my area, and I use those all the time. Now let's talk about my library only rule. I have a lot of books that I absolutely am not going to try unless I can get them from the library. And that is authors that are new to me, books that I have heard mixed reviews about, and for the most part, to be honest, anything that I have not read. If you look at the shelves behind me, I have hardbacks that I purchased new that are entirely books that I read first from the library. I would not have purchased those books if I had not read them from the library. I do not purchase new hardbacks or really even new paperbacks of books that I have not read for the most part, unless it's for some special reason, because I cannot afford to buy books that I do not like. So that is how I manage my reading budget. I'm going to read it from the library. If I absolutely love it and I want to support the author, I am going to purchase a copy of it and put it on the shelf behind me. I will purchase used copies of books that I have not read yet, primarily from the next thing I'm going to talk about, which is the Friends of the Library store. Most libraries have some kind of a Library Friends Association. All of my libraries do. Some of them run sales that happen on, weekends or sometimes on weekdays when nobody except retired people can go. And I do buy books from those. The Cincinnati Library, which is my primary library, actually has a dedicated store. They take books that have been decommissioned from the library. And in addition to that, they allow people to donate. And most books are $3. And I am going to have a haul for you at the end of this video from my last trip to the library store. But I would say the majority of books on my shelves came from the library store, and they're all old library books. So again, the library just shaping my entire reading life, even the books that I own. In addition to my library only rule that I have for things I'm not sure about and new authors, I also think that the library allows you to explore genres and books that you are not familiar with. And I'm going to give you an example from my reading life. This very month, I saw a channel that I follow recommending a series called, I don't know what the series is called, but the first book is called The Wolf's Den. Let me pick it up. It's historical fiction set in a brothel in ancient Pompeii, and that does not sound like something I would like because I don't really read historical fiction very much, and I definitely don't read historical fiction from, ancient Rome, ancient Greece, any of that. But I picked it up because I saw it so highly recommended, and I would not even have spent $3 on it at the library sale. I would not even have done that because I was so unsure, but I added it to my TBR and I picked it up, and this was a really great read that I would not have read. About a 4.25 stars for me. Spoiler for my end of the month wrap up. That I really enjoyed, that I would not have picked up from a genre I don't usually read, that I got because I have a library card and I have the ability to pick up things that I'm not sure about and give them a try. And I think that's really valuable. I think so many of us get stuck in our preferred genres and our preferred authors, and we don't like to branch out, particularly not if it's going to cost money. But the library is free. So step out of that comfort zone and try something new. So I'd like to know if you use your local library, because I sometimes feel, and maybe this is just social media talking, social media being so much about acquiring things and materialism, I think to some extent. Do you use your library? How does it help you in your reading life? And does it, and now we're about to get to my next section, does it help you to save money? So I did a little breakdown of my 2024 reading year. I read 130-ish books, depending on how I count those. And out of those, I read 60 books exclusively from the library that I didn't end up picking up. So that doesn't include the books that I then gave 5 stars to and bought a copy, because I don't feel like I can count that as saving money since I did end up buying them. And it doesn't count things that I picked up at the library store or from used bookstores. So I read 60 books from the library. And if I had purchased all of those books, at a minimum, my total cost would have been $817 for those 60 books. And that figure I got from going to Amazon and taking the price of whatever was cheapest on Amazon, whether it was paperback or hardback, just depending on what's out. Truthfully, it probably would have cost me more than that due to the fact that I don't really buy books from Amazon anymore if I had decided to purchase all those. And that is an amount of money that is not in my budget. And that is a benefit that I get from utilizing my library. So I think that using the library and understanding how to use the library and really utilizing the resources that you have is something that you can do to save yourself a little bit of money. I definitely don't spend a lot of money on books, and I think that primarily that's because I have access to the library, because I'm a pretty heavy reader, and if I had to purchase all of the books that I read, as you can see, that's just an expense that I don't have in my budget. And it also helps with my budget because when I see a book that everyone is reading on BookTube, I don't feel like I have to run out and purchase my own copy so that I can keep up with everyone else. Now, do I like to read books that everyone else is reading? Sometimes, it depends, but I can be caught up. I can be caught up in the moment, right? But I know that I can go to the library and I can check it out and not spend the money on something that maybe is just overhyped because it's the hot thing of the moment. And that's really valuable too. As I said, just being able to try stuff without having to spend your money on it to start with, I think is really valuable and something that I value the library for. So now I'd like you to let me know, has the library helped to save you money? Or are you more of a book collector? Because I think I'm kind of in the middle, because I do have my wall of book trophies behind me. And I'd also like to talk about DNFing. Another thing that I probably need to make a whole video on, but I'm a fan of DNFing. I have DNF'd 2 books this month. I don't own either one of them. So I don't feel bad because they were from the library. I wasn't having a good time. I'm not going to get myself in a reading slump, and I don't have to feel bad because I spent money on something that I don't enjoy. And I think that that's kind of an underappreciated benefit. If you're somebody like me who appreciates the DNF, don't make yourself miserable over something. It might get better, but if you're not having a good time, it probably won't. That's my experience. And there are too many books that I need to get to. So DNFing is definitely helped by my experience using the library. Okay, now we're going to transition into a little bit of a Friends of the Library book haul. As I said, the Friends of the Library store here in Cincinnati is a store that is open. I think it's open 3 or 4 days a week. It's a huge warehouse. You can donate books to it. It's where the library sends all of their books when they decommission them, remove them from the stacks when they don't need them anymore. And that does mean, actually, that you get a fair amount of both older books and books that are pretty new releases, as you're going to see in this haul that I'm going to show you. The stack of 9 books cost me $30. So 9 books, $30. They're generally about $3 each at the library store. Occasionally, if it's a really, really new book, it'll be $4, $5, but generally about $3, most of the ones that I buy. And we're going to start out with one of those new releases. And I have not taken the Mylar covers off of these books yet. I can tell you that it's something I do. You can cut the Mylar covers off of a library book and it will just look like a brand new book. And that's hardcovers. I don't generally get paperbacks from the library. There aren't as many that they have anyway, but If I have a paperback, it was probably a donated book because I don't like to try to remove the stickers. But for instance, I'm going to show you this copy of The Last Tale of the Flower Bride. This was a library copy that I got at the library store, and it's pretty indistinguishable. You can see it's got a little library discard. And then over here, you can see where I cut out the library binding. But in general, I would say on my shelf, just looks like a hardback. So let us get to the haul now. The first book is a book that came out in 2023. It was an Oprah's Book Club selection. And that is Let Us Descend by Jessamine Ward. And I'm going to try my best with these that have the Mylar on them still. I'm going to take these off later, but I wanted to leave them on for this video. This is a literary fiction novel. It says, it is a reimagining of American slavery as beautifully rendered as it is heart-wrenching. I know this has a magical realism element to it. I saw some kind of mixed reviews, but I really want to read it. And again, this one was, I think this was the one that was, no, this one was also $3. So this was $3, and for $3, I'm willing to take a chance on a book that I might or might not enjoy. So we'll see on that one, but I think I will. We have a couple books that are not library books. This one actually still has a thrift book sticker on it. So whoever donated it from the library to the library got it from Thrift Books. And then it also has a book back here saying that it came from Powell's bookstore at one point, and a Goodwill sticker. So this one has been through some people. This is The Wind-Up Girl by Paolo. I don't know how to say his last name, so I'm not going to try. And this is a book that won the Hugo Award, I think in 2003. It is a little bit of a dystopia, sci-fi story. I've heard really, really great things. It also apparently won the Nebula, I see now from looking at the cover. So anyway, I am really excited to read this one. It's a sci-fi classic that I haven't read, and I love sci-fi, so I was excited to find this one at the store. And you're going to see that this haul is all over the place in terms of genre. And again, that's because when I'm able to try things for, free or very low cost, I'm much more willing to stretch my boundaries, which I think is great. And this is 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. This is a book that won the Nobel Prize. Very intimidating. I have always wanted to read it, and now I have a copy, so I don't have an excuse to not read it. Am I still intimidated by fiction that is this celebrated and this literary? Yes, but I am pushing myself, and I'm trying to get out of that comfort zone. And I think also that this is a pretty cover. And this one was also not a library book. Who knows where it came from, but again, it was $3 in the classic section. Then we have a book by one of my favorite fantasy authors. This is, I believe, their debut novel. This is The Chosen and the Beautiful by Nevo. This is a great Gatsby retelling with a speculative fantasy kind of twist. And I know that there's actually this month coming out the sequel to this book. So I haven't read this one yet. I adore Nevo. Nevo has a very beautiful literary, lyrical style of prose, and everything I read by them, I have absolutely adored. And I was excited to see this one. I've seen this one at Half Price Books and some other used bookstores that I go to, and I've actually never picked it up because even at those stores, it was still, $11 or $12 for a hardcover, and I didn't want to spend that much on it because I'm not totally sold on the concept of the Great Gatsby retelling, although I do love this author. But when I saw it at the library store, I was like, okay, I'm going to put this in my jar and we're going to get to this. It's not super long. I was excited by that. And I have this book here, which is literary fiction, I believe again. It's The Storied Life of A.J. Fikry by Gabrielle Zevin. This one was on the display in the front of the store, the one where they put the books that they feel like people are going to be really into buying. This one was also not a library copy. It was donated. Paid $3 for it again, just like all the others. And it says, A.J. Fikry's life is not what he expected. He lives alone, his bookstore is experiencing the worst sales of its history, and now his prized possession, a rare collection of Poe poems, has been stolen. But when a mysterious package appears at the bookstore, its unexpected arrival gives Fikry the chance to make his life over and see everything anew. Lovely. I think that's going to be great. I really enjoyed Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin, so I was interested in reading something else from the author, and so I picked this one up to give it a try. Now I have two books from the same series. I can't remember. I think this series might be called, I don't know what it's called. But these are Middle Game and Seasonal Fears by Shauna Maguire. Shauna Maguire, again, one of my favorite fantasy authors. The Wayward Children series most of which I have also gotten from the library store and removed the covers. You can see them over my shoulder here. I've got a whole bunch of them. This one, these are longer, and I know this is a kind of, might have something to do with time. You know what? I don't know what it's about, but now I have both of the first two books, and I'm sure eventually, the other one came out last year, the newest one. I'm sure that in another year I'll find that one at the store too. Did I buy the first two books of a series without knowing if I would like it? Yes, but I do love the author, so I feel like it was worth it. This one's in great condition. The first book looks like it has what I would describe to as one corner with cat teeth mark damage. I have a cat. I am well aware of what that looks like, but I'm excited to have both of those. I'm going to take these covers off, put them on my shelf, and they're going to look great, and I'm going to get to them soon. I have two more books in my list. The first one is a book that I have actually really been wanting to read, that I was really excited to find at the library store, and that is And Put Away Childish Things by Adrian Tchaikovsky. This is a novella. It's not very long. It came out last year, along with 2023, probably along with 8 other books. Adrian Tchaikovsky just writes so furiously. Like, he writes so fast. I don't even know how he does it. What's really fun about this one, I think, is that it's signed. Let me put that forward so you can see it, maybe. So don't ask me why there's a signed copy of a book at the library, because this is a library book that at the library store. But that's fun. I enjoy that. This is a portal fantasy. It says, Harry Bodie, Harry, I don't know why I said that like that. I think it's, I don't know. Harry Bodie has a famous grandmother who wrote beloved children's books set in the delightful world of Underhill. Harry himself is a failing kids TV presenter whose every attempt to advance his career ends in self-sabotage. His family history seems to be nothing but an impediment or worse. What if Underhill is real? What if it has been waiting decades for a promised child to visit? What if it isn't delightful at all? And what if its denizens have run out of patience and are taking matters into their own hands? So I think it's, I saw a review that described this book as closer to the Lev Grossman Magician's idea of portal fantasy than to Narnia. And I feel like I'm kind of in the mood for that. I've seen some good reviews of this book, and as I said, I really love Adrian Tchaikovsky. So this was my most excited thing that I found at the library store for $3. Was very excited. And my last book that I picked up is an author that I have read from before, but this is, I believe, his first novel, and I think it's magical realism. It's called The Water Dancer by Ta-Nehisi Coates. This one, again, is one that I have been really wanting to read. I have seen a few mixed reviews, but it doesn't mean it's not going to be good. And I'm really excited to get to it. And when I saw it at the store, I was also very excited. So I've only read nonfiction from this author, and he has a very distinctive, almost stream of consciousness style in those works. And I'm really hoping that this is going to give me the same kind of feel, but in a fictional kind of magical realism world. So this one, I'm really excited about. It came out in 2019. I have not read it yet, so pick that up from the library. And there you have it, a little book haul at the end of my video here. And now it's time to wrap things up. The library is honestly one of my favorite things. It is my favorite resource to use with my reading. It enhances my life in so many ways. I didn't even touch on all the other things the library offers in terms of public services, in terms of other kinds of libraries. My local library has a tool library. They have a seed library. They have a makerspace where you can screen print t-shirts. I mean, they have all kinds of things, and they're always willing to help you and excited to help you find your next book. I want to encourage you, if you're watching this video and you don't have a library card, go get a library card. It's free. And I would encourage you during National Library Month to go to your library and check out a book. Check out a book, check out the services they offer, see what your library has that you have not been utilizing. And with that, it's time to end the video. Please leave me a comment. I would love to know the last book that you checked out from the library. I hope that you all have a fantastic day. I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.